everyone. So, welcome back to PÖFF TV. Today, I'm joined by Maria Douza, here a Greek director-screenwriter, bringing to us her second feature film called Listen. And it's also a part of the youth competition children's rights program. So, my first question might be a little bit more obvious. So, the story Listen centers on our deaf protagonist, a teenage girl who is forced by a circumstance to move to her father's place and turn her life upside down. So, how did you find this subject matter, or what inspired you to write the story?
Right. I wanted to make a film that would deal and explore the problem of communication in general, but communication in the broader meaning, in the sense of us making the effort to understand the other, to listen to the other, to be understood, and not to avoid this whole issue. So I wanted to talk about this, and I thought maybe having a deaf person in the center of the story, it would be would be used metaphorically to convey the subject. So the disability is used in a metaphorical way in order for me to be able to explore that subject.
Mm-hmm. So a film about communication, that's really beautiful. It must have been really hard to navigate the subject especially. So did you do any research before going into the writing or directing, or what did it look like, the research process?
Sure, I did a lot of research on deafness, and I had to read books and watch many films and documentaries, and I visited schools for the deaf, and I met people that are deaf or became deaf, like the character in the film was not born deaf. So I did a lot of research. And I had very good advisors, and I had a very good advisor during the shoot or before the shoot, during the pre-production, even during the editing. So when the film was finished, we had this deaf teacher who is a teacher of sign language, that he checked the editing and made sure that we didn't include things that were not accurate and correct. So yes, we had to do that.
Mm-hmm. It definitely, watching the film, it feels really respectful the way it handles this deaf character. But I'm wondering, so the main actress, she isn't actually deaf herself. So what did you do to immerse herself, to help her immerse herself in the character?
Well, I think she liked very much, to begin with, she liked the character a lot. And she thought, and she says this every time I ask her and we talk, that more importantly for her, it was that she found in Valmira, the name of the character, interesting traits that she would like to work on. And then she also took the lessons by this advisor teacher that I mentioned. She also read a couple of books that I suggested to her. I think she did her own research as well. So she met deaf people. She went to theater with deaf actors. So she did her own personal work on that. Mm-hmm. And I think her result is very convincing.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think? So watching this film, a lot of it is just silent. You hear this silence in a way that the character is experiencing the world, but you see and you still understand the emotions and everything that the characters are going through. And I wonder, it is so hard to convey this. And how did you manage to do it? Do you have any...
Thank you very much for saying that. I'm glad you say it. Well, another reason why I wanted to have a deaf character, besides the subject, was because I would like very much to try and make a film that would not rely on dialogue, and that would be more, it would be told by images, scenes, action, emotion, and all that. So it was very deliberate and very pre-decided approach to try and tell this story with images and allow images that were not very logical to enter the script and the story, like the octopus, like the sea urchin, other images that convey things in a more subconscious way. And relate to the subject somehow or reflect the subject. So it was, from the beginning, the intention to make a more visual film rather than blah, 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 talking.
It's definitely very contemporary, because traditionally we're used to see a lot of dialogue, so I guess you're communicating with the audience without words, right?
That was the intent. I mean, that's what I hope. And we used the sound a lot, so we convey deafness not only with silence, but also with some sound effects and with music. We worked with a composer for a long time, experimenting with the music. We didn't want the music to be a soundtrack that underlines the story, but we wanted the music to convey deafness, or to give us some of the feelings, convey some of the feelings of a person who cannot actually hear, feels in this world of the hearing. So the music has played that role. There are compositions of where bizarre frequencies are heard, and sometimes the music is, functions like an emotional disturbance rather than nice lyrical score.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of ways the character experiences sound around her, even if she's deaf. So that's also a bit of the communication part. So circling back to your point of communication, there's definitely a lot of issues. There's a family which is falling apart, and there is this deaf character who has trouble communicating with her peers. What would you like to say to all these people maybe who are experiencing these communication problems in their life with this film?
That we have to really open up and try and listen carefully to the other, not only hear, not only be with them, but actually listen with all our being. Listen emotionally, listen psychologically, listen with our heart, not only with our ears and our mind. We have to listen with our whole being, I think, if I may say that, to what the others are, and try to understand what the others are. And I think we are capable of doing this because all human beings share the same qualities and the same properties. I mean, we are all the same. We're all very similar. So if we if we use our empathy to listen and to understand the other, it's guaranteed that we will succeed.
Mm-hmm. That is so beautiful, really. I was also wondering, how long was the process itself? How long did it take to write this very complicated story for you?
Well, it took 4 years, 5,
Mm-hmm.
with lots of rewrites and comings and goings, and participation in workshops. I was getting feedback, and then the co-producers, we have Bulgarian co-producer, they gave their own feedback. So it was a process of rewriting and rewriting until we reached the final draft.
Yeah.
And I have to say it was finalized during the shoot because the actors also brought their suggestions and their improvisations, some of which were very valuable, and I accepted them, and I changed things during the shoot as well.
Mm-hmm. And of course, and here we can see the results on screen, and well, there's so much I want to ask you more, but I'm afraid we're going to have to conclude this interview. I really hope that our viewers also were very intrigued by listening to the passion coming from this film director. And if you want to listen, which I think that you should, come to Black Nights Film Festival. It's still running, or it will be out next year in cinemas.
Yes,
right?
I expect so. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you at Black Nights Film Festival.
Thank you very much for having me here and having the film in Tallinn.